Hello and welcome everybody. I'm Allison and today a gentle somatic yoga practice that is adapted for sitting in a chair. If you've practiced with me before through some of our on the floor seated postures, I've mentioned often that a lot of our postures can be adapted to sitting in a chair. So this practice is a total body gentle somatic yoga sitting in a chair. Go ahead and find a chair that feels comfortable to you. I recommend, I'll swivel and show you, that you're sitting in a chair, even if it has a back, that you're sitting forward a little bit. If you have a chair without a back, I would recommend that. Also, just check out the padding of your chair and see if you can get something where you're able to actually feel the bony margins of your pelvis. So you can feel your pelvis sitting and it's not painful for you. To further adapt this, if sitting in a chair does feel painful for you, you can put a blanket or a pillow underneath your back side and we'll get started. I like to make mention that when you're sitting in a supported seated posture, the femur or the leg bones are having either almost a flush angle with your hips, or there is a slight angling down, like you could put a pen or a pencil right at the top of your femur and it would roll down. So what we're wanting to avoid is having knees that are up this far. That will often bring our gravity back, so we'll be slouching a little bit. So make sure you've got that good angle with the femur, and there's a little bit of a either downward slope or it feels pretty even and your feet can touch the ground. Once you've got that set up, go ahead, rock back and forth a little bit side to side, and we're going to take this first part of our practice just to settle in and begin to breathe. Just allow your body to rest into this present moment. Breathing into the nose, maybe sighing out through the mouth. Trying that just a couple times, settling and slowing in, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Steadying yourself into the present moment. My intention for this practice today is to share with you the way that some gentle somatic yoga practice can be adapted to sitting in a chair with a focus on freeing the neck, softening the hips, and releasing any held tension in the chest or rib basket. So take a moment to scan your body as you're sitting here and breathing. Just notice first what it feels like to breathe. What's moving as you breathe? Being aware where the breath feels fullest, on the front, side, or back of your body. Take notice how deep your breath travels in your body. Notice what it feels like to sit in the chair. If one sit bone feels heavier than the other, or if they feel about the same. And getting a sense of how much space does it feel you're taking up in this moment. Maybe aware of the energy around your body. Maybe that feels like a big space or a little space. And if you can get a sense of that shape, of that space around your body, also be aware. Does that feel smooth? Is there any part of that that feels like it's missing? On the sides, the back, the bottom, or the top? In Gentle Somatic Yoga, we practice learning through contrast. So the brain learns and adapts through recognizing contrast. So by taking this first moment to scan through, we're setting up a picture of ourselves so that we can enjoy and notice any contrast or shifts and changes that happens as we practice. If your eyes are closed when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. Let's take a few starting movements by just observing the neck rotating to the right and to the left. So without strain, notice your first range of motion, looking to the right, looking to the left. Doing that a few times, checking the range of motion, and then maybe taking a few neck circles. As you're feeling whatever there is to feel, notice sensation. Notice any places where you may feel a little skip, or if the movement doesn't feel fluid. Good, and then rest that movement. The first somatic movement flow we'll practice are foot sliders. And although we'll be working with the feet, this is also an opening for the neck. So I'll turn to the side so you can see. Our first movement here will be a motion of just seeing where our range of looking up is. So hands on the legs, go ahead and look up and identify a place on the ceiling. And come back. See if you can memorize that spot. Good, and release. The next part of this movement will be done with the right leg all the way down to the right foot. And what we'll do, and I'll be sliding my foot along the floor, so you're going to be doing the same. If you need to put a sock on, go ahead and do that. You want to be able to slide your foot out and then slide it back. And the way that this looks, just in case you can't see my leg all the way, I'm going to be sliding my heel on the floor, and my foot is going to be coming out, the knee will stay bent, and then once your leg gets out, your toes are going to go up, and you're going to squeeze your toes like you're picking up a pencil, and then drop down at the ankle, and then slide the foot back in. And I'll do that with you. So you're going to have both feet on the ground, slide your right heel out, the knee will stay a little bent. Take the toes up towards your nose, ankle hinges back, let the toes squeeze and pendiculate forward. Then let the ankle come back down, foot is heading towards the ground, and then slide that foot back to the neutral position, pause. Let's do that again. You slide the right heel out, take the toes up towards your nose, bend the toes, squeeze the toes, foot goes down, and slide that foot back. Let's do 2 or 3 more. Pause in between, and then close your eyes and just feel your right heel sliding a little on the floor. Take your toes back towards your nose. Squeeze your toes down, breathe, foot down and back. Pause. Get the toes up, bending at the toe hinge, releasing the ankle hinge, and sliding the foot back. Good, and rest and breathe in between. I don't know about you, but if you felt any of that little wavering or shakiness, that might be a sign of the sensory motor amnesia or the sensory motor awakening. When we're redoing those movements, we're reawakening the neuromuscular connection, so that's normal. Just be with that, and as you're doing that, know you're putting good information back into your brain, your sensory motor connection. We'll move on to the left leg. We'll slide the left heel out. Knee still stays a little bit bent. Take your toes up towards your nose. Bend at your toes like you're picking up a pencil with your left toes. And then you're going to flatten your foot towards the ground. It may or may not touch. And then slowly slide that heel and that foot back. Since you know the movement, take your time and enjoy the sensation. Close your eyes. Slide in the left foot on the floor. And feel how the ankle hinges back as the toes come back towards the nose, and what it feels like to bend your toes. If you're cramping up, do a little less. Just make note of that. And breathe. Relax the jaw. Release any secret tension in the face. And try just a couple more of those. As you continue to breathe, sliding the heel out, toes up. Toes down, foot releases. We're working at the ankle hinge. And come on back and breathe and release. Now when you're ready, bring your hands back to your legs and we're going to look up to the ceiling and see. All right, see what you can see now and notice if that's the same or different, and if there has been any reset or re-lengthening in the neck from those foot sliders. Go ahead and take a breath here, and we're just going to take some free-form movement between our somatic movement flows. So as we're starting to get into the body and warming up a little bit more, it might be nice to just roll through the shoulders now. Feel what that feels like. If there's any tapping out of the feet that want to be done, I like to sometimes take my ankle hinges left and right. So let yourself do a bit of an adaptive dance here and kind of move through your body. And as you're doing this sort of integrative movement, you're just wanting to stay with your breath and feel what there is to feel. Notice your rib basket. One of the intentions for this session too, as we start to open up, is to bring a little more space into the rib basket, into the chest. So, taking a few movements, following your body's intuition, feeling your sit bones. And then let's take a few arch and flatten movements, some integrative movement of the hips. And you're going to let your hips kind of slouch back just a little bit. You feel a bit of a concavity in the front of the body. And then go ahead and go the other way. You'll find a little bit of an arch in the back. So try that a few times. And just like with the rest of our Gentle Somatic Yoga practice, you move with pleasure through here. And just depending on your range of movement, you may include some other parts of the body. It may just be about starting to oil the movement of your hips here. So if you're real stiff in the hips, just getting started with this arch and flatten is a good spot. Okay, very nice. Finding your sit bones once again. For this next move, I'll be facing you, and you can again find your sit bones, sitting your back away from the chair, and let's take a look at our twist to the left. So again, we're going to take our first twist, take the right hand to the outside of that left knee and turn. And just notice what you can see. So you're maybe finding a spot on the wall or something you can identify behind you. That's your first movement to the left, so that anchoring movement. This somatic movement flow is called the Lighthouse. It is one of my favorites. We'll begin by turning the body to the left in a gentle twist. So that'll be that first spot that we had found. Good. And then as you're back there, take your left shoulder blade and squeeze your shoulder blade towards the spine. And then release and relax and come back to a neutral. And then maybe slouching around a little. So that's a release. Kind of see how that works. Coming back to neutral. You're going to turn to the left. Going to take a little squeeze of the left shoulder blade behind you. Just a gentle squeeze, 3 to 5 seconds, looking back. Inhale, exhale, come around, and then you might take a little slouch out of that. So you're letting your body find some shortness and re-lengthening. Let's do that 2 more times. Closing your eyes, turn into the left, squeeze the left shoulder blade, breathe. And unwinding those little squeezes, those are appendiculations. You're hugging the muscle to the bone, squeezing, and then as you release, reestablishing the natural length of that muscle. By bringing your focus to that place of pendiculation, we're sending awareness and rewiring, reconnecting, feeling to those places of the body. We're wanting to feel and reconnect. Next time you're back to neutral, pause, finding your sit bones. We're going to add another piece. Turn your body to the left. As you turn your body to the left, turn your head to the right. Body left, head right. Squeeze that left shoulder blade. And enjoy unwinding from that. This always reminds me of a jar, opening up a jar, like a lid is being twisted off. Good. We're going to do that movement depending on your pace 3 to 4 more times where you're breathing and turning your body left as your head goes to the right. Squeeze that left shoulder blade and then unwind and enjoy. Those breaths out, if it feels natural to allow those to occur, go for it. And follow that principle, this movement with pleasure. Releasing struggle out of this. This is meant, we're feeling, we're sensing. No force needed here. Breathing. Let's add one more element to the lighthouse on this side. As you turn your body to the left, allow your head to turn to the right. Your eyes look left. Now you're like in a zigzag, and then you're going to release and rest. Try that out a few times. If that makes you dizzy, if those 3 directions are too much, just stick with those 2. Body left, head right, eyes left. Squeeze the shoulder. Next time you unwind, pause a moment. And let's take that first anchoring move again, where we're simply turning to the left and seeing what we see on the wall or in that space behind us. All right, did anybody get some more distance or have a different place that they're looking? And then look to the left and then look to the right. And we've done one side, so you can also kind of see the contrast for you there, if there is a contrast between the right and the left side, and then come back to neutral and breathe. If there's any little movements you'd like to take to refresh yourself, you can do that. And then we're going to take the lighthouse on the second side. So let's go to the right and find a place on the wall or in space behind us and just mark that spot. See what you can see. Remember that spot. Come back to neutral. Imagine you've never done this movement before, so you can refresh and do this movement on the second side with a clear mind, letting your body turn to the right. Squeeze your right shoulder blade towards your spine. Breathing here and then release out of that pandiculation. Letting your spine respond. So as you let your body move in and out of this, once you get a hang of the movement, you're turning, you're finding the pandiculation of the right shoulder blade, squeezing to the spine for about 3 to 5 seconds, and just feeling the goodness for you in that release, and maybe the spine responds. In this practice, we want to open up natural movement, and part of that is flexion and extension of the spine, both the slouch and the arch, but being able to move in between them. Maybe taking that twist 1 or 2 more times with that right shoulder pandiculating. Breathe, let that go. Now we're going to add our body turning to the right as our head looks left. Turn the body, give a little squeeze of the right shoulder blade. Turning the head to the left. Turning that lid off the jar. Breathing out, releasing, let that go. And take that movement 2 to 4 more times, where you're turning the body to the right, squeezing the shoulder blade, turning the head to the left. The last part of this movement, Lighthouse on the right side, is turning the body to the right, the head to the left, and the eyes to the right. Squeeze back that right shoulder blade and unwind and release. Breathe. Let's do that cycle 2 to 4 more times, where you're taking the body to the right, the head to the left, eyes to the right. And as you practice these movements, once you get them familiar in yourself, there's opportunity to allow them to be unfamiliar in yourself again. So even though we start to learn these movements, it doesn't mean we have to do it the same or with the same speed each time. You know, maybe we add more spinal movement each time we do it, but as we're beginning to learn these movements, this Lighthouse, it can be the first few times, it can take a little bit just to understand what the movement is, but once you get a hang of this, more doors begin to open. So be kind with yourself as you travel through. Once you finish that last rotation of the Lighthouse on the right side, let's just look at that first movement again. So our anchoring movement would be to twist to the right, turn, and just see if you get a different spot. Do you see something different? Did you get a little more rotation? So oftentimes when we get a little bit of a different range of motion, when we're able to see a little bit more, we have condensed a muscle through pandiculation and reinformed the movement so that the muscle length is increasing and returning to a more long resting state. So we're able to go a little further without doing any of that stretching or tugging. We're just reintegrating, like rehydrating, re-lengthening our muscles. Good. So we've done some nice movement now for range of motion through the neck and the front body and turning side to side. So before we continue on, it might be nice just to explore that space around you. So you can turn, you can add some shoulder rolls, you can feel into your rib basket. And it might be a good time if you're starting to feel a little bit more free in your neck and shoulders from that twisting. You might even take your own hands to the sides of your body or up to your rib cage and just take a few circles there. So the bony margins of the rib basket's a really nice point of reference, and of course inside your rib basket we've got organs, and each time we condense and shift, it's like our inner organs are getting a massage. So we think about our neuromusculature and we think about our bones a lot, but it can be nice to think sometimes about when we're doing these movements, we're actually really affecting the health of the organs and allowing things to massage and slide and glide against each other. So that adds a little bit more dimension to the body as you're moving through it. And if nothing else, you can think about how good it is for the organs to find different vectors and relationships with each other. Taking a couple breaths, finding your sit bones once again. We're going to bring some awareness to the pelvis now. So as we become aware of our low body, feel your sit bones, and then I'll show you, if you were to slouch back, you'd be going more towards your tailbone, and that's kind of a tail tucking between the legs, so give that a try. And then if you were to go the other way, you are moving more towards your pubic bone, and it's almost like someone's pulling up the back side of your pants. You can feel that. So just go between those two. Yep, back and forth. Okay. So when we're doing this same movement on the floor, this is called around the clock, we'd be laying down and we'd be going all the way around the clock with our back on the ground. But I think it can be a really nice movement awareness exercise to try that same movement with us sitting up. It gives us a different kind of relationship with our pelvis, and it also connects our pelvis down with our feet. So for this, just take a moment to breathe, find the bony margins or approximate where the bony margins of your hip are. And then for this next movement, I'm going to have you shorten the right side, and it's almost going to feel like your right sit bone is coming up off the chair, but it won't quite go that far. And then you're going to bring that down. And then you're going to shorten the left side, and it almost feels maybe like your left sit bone's coming off the chair, and then you're going to release. And I'll show you that movement from the front, everybody. You're going to raise up through the right hip and lower down. Raise up through the left hip and low down. And then if you've got a sense of that movement, try that without the hands. And release. So let's do this around the clock. We're going to find those movements adding pandiculation. So we're going to be going around the clock in this direction. It's going to kind of look like hula hips. And just do your best and have fun. So any effort or consciousness we're bringing into the movement is going to help out with our hips. So let's call the first movement when you're going towards your pubic bone and your back. It's getting a little arch in it or pandiculation in the back. Let's call that 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock. And then when you're rolling back to your tailbone and you're finding a contraction, a little contraction in the abdomen, let's call that 6 o'clock. So let's try going between 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. Good. Once you've got 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock, close the eyes and smooth that out. Notice the quality of movement. If one direction feels a little longer than the other, if they feel about the same. Good, and pause. Now we're going to condense that right waistline. You feel a pandiculation in the waist or the QL as that right sit bone is coming up a little bit off, almost off the chair. Good, and we'll call that as we lift up that right hip, 3 o'clock. Down, and then let's go to the other side. You're going to feel a pandiculation. The waistline on the left side is giving a little squeeze, maybe the QL, that big muscle, quadratus lumborum in the back. And we're going to call that 9 o'clock as that left hip's coming up, and then come out of that. 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. And you can play, close your eyes, smooth that out. And I'm even letting my armpit travel down to my hip bone a little bit. And I feel a side crunch. Not a really big pull, just a pandiculation. Feeling what is squeezing and releasing. Breathe. And then let's see if we can put that all together with that action of pandiculation. So you're going to let your pelvis go to the 12 o'clock position. 12 o'clock, a little bit of a pandiculation of that low back. Good. And then let's go around to the right, sliding back to 6 o'clock. Traveling the body to the left. As the body goes left, that right hip goes up and coming forward. Now that we're going around, you're transferring that pandiculation. So let's go 12 o'clock. And then as you transfer the weight to the right sitting bone, the left waistline gets shorter. Transfer the weight towards the tailbone and the front of the abdomen contracts. Transfer the weight to the left sit bone and the right side comes up. All the way through the front, you're back at 12 o'clock. As the right sit bone has weight, the left hip, left side body pandiculates, coming back, core gets a little squeeze, release onto the other side. And then once you got a good sense of this, you're going to take all of that, just go around the clock and breathe. And then allow your body to go the other way. Continuing to breathe here, and then be aware as you're moving around that clock that you're also massaging the organs of the low belly, small intestine, ascending colon on the right, descending colon on the left, bladder, reproductive organs, or the space for reproductive organs if they're no longer there. Good. And as you continue this movement, if you're inspired to let this form or move into more of an integrative flow, so if you release that thought about the pandiculation and just let your body express itself, adding the shoulders, adding the neck, maybe revisiting the feet. And now take a moment to add the whole body into this experience. Maybe the arms, wrists, hands. You got the whole body in this, and then once again be aware of the space around you. Even being aware close to the floor, whether that's looking or reaching into that space, reaching behind you. And when we just allow our body to kind of authentically move and explore patterns without having to name them, we're trusting that our body is expressing itself in a way that is nourishing for itself. So if there's a repetitive movement that would feel good, or maybe it's just time to kind of shake it all out and get the energy flowing around. If there's any stagnation, you can shake that out. If there's any sensations in the back and you need to give it some love, you can take your hands to your back and kind of rub it out a little bit. So the more we inform our practice, the better we get at knowing how deep and how much to go into our pendiculations. And if you feel any soreness from this practice in those muscles that we've worked, consider going just a little less next time. So we're wanting to avoid that contraction that is going to yield a lot of pain or cramping. So just take a moment now, once you've settled down from your integrative movement, to go back to that first seated position where we started practice, finding the sitting bones, allowing the hands to be on the thighs or down by your sides, bringing awareness once again into your breath, quieting your movement down, and feel what it feels like to breathe in this moment. Notice your rib basket, where the breath is in the body, how much is moving as you breathe. Notice any sensations that are present. Checking in with your sitting bones, seeing if one is heavier than the other, or they both feel the same. Notice how your sit bones meet the surface you're sitting on. Notice the energy in your shoulders and neck. And then see how much space your body seems to be taking up. On the sides, back, front. Space above your head and space below. Taking these last few moments to be here with your breath. Feeling the energy flowing through your body. Maybe sensing vibration. Feeling the life of your skin, and under your skin, all the way through to your bones. All the way through to the center of your bone. Being aware now of the fluids of your body, flowing, hydrating. Sensing your organs through your abdomen, low belly, low back, and even your brain as an organ. Resting in the abundance of your cells, each intelligent, vibrating, breathing. Resting in this cellular breath, whole body breathing, whole body awake. Thank you for this practice of Gentle Somatic Yoga adapted for chair. Hope to see you again soon. Namaste.